There comes a time in every life when silence becomes a divine pause between what you feel and what you say. It can also be a moment of wisdom wrapped in restraint. I've heard it said, everything that's thought doesn't need to be said, and everything that's said doesn't need to be said by you. There is power in holding your peace. Remember the God that sculpted the stars with the tips of his fingers, who placed the sun in the morning sky, does not always shout. He whispers, and if you are too busy running your mouth, you miss what he has to say. There is strength in holding your peace. It takes courage to stay silent when your soul wants to scream. But God, who parted the Red Sea and closed the mouths of lions, sees it all, and he keeps records not in ink but in eternity. How can God speak when you're still arguing with yesterday? How can he lead when you're telling him where to go? How can he pour into you when your cup is too full of your own thoughts? Sometimes your words can tear down bridges that he's trying to build. Remember, he can speak louder through your life than any sermon through your lips. People will provoke you, twist your words, test you, but you don't have to answer every accusation. You don't have to clap back to every insult. That's not your assignment. That's not your battle. Let the Lord fight your battles because he's never lost one yet. Proverbs 17:28 says, even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent, and discerning if he holds his tongue. How true that is. Your silence may confuse your enemies. It may unsettle the ones that want to see you fall apart, but God will hold you together. And even when the lies and the gossip is louder, he'll wrap you in his peace like a mother wraps a child in a blanket on a cold night. I'm not saying be silent in the face of injustice. There's a time to roar like a lion, but not every moment is that moment. Some moments are meant for stillness, and some seasons are about observing and not reacting. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is nothing at all, because in that silence, God is working, God is healing, God is preparing your table in the presence of your enemies. So hold your tongue, let the Lord be your vindicator, let peace be your protest, let quiet be your crown, for you, beloved, are not weak. You are wise. You're not silent because you don't have anything to say. You're silent because your soul knows the power of trusting the one who sees all and forgets nothing. But when it's time and God says speak, you don't have to raise your voice because his anointing will speak for you. Know that the world will tell you that silence is weakness, and if you don't speak up, you don't matter. If you don't clap back, you're a coward. But I'm here to tell silence is not an act of humility. It is an act of telling God, I trust you enough to be silent. I trust you enough to be still. I trust that while I'm quiet, you're moving. That's the kind of faith that rests in the arm of God. There's wisdom in the waiting and grace in the gaps and revelation in the resting. Silence is strength. It is the quiet power of the one who knows his worth. It is the calm confidence of the man who knows he has nothing to prove. It is the invisible armor of the wise man who knows that some battles are not fought with words but with restraint. You don't have to bark to be brave. You don't have to raise your voice in a world that's loud and full of noise, full of endless posting and tweeting. There is beauty in maintaining your peace and not answering the chaos. Acknowledge that you will not allow your spirit to be stirred by the storm, because strength does not always shout. Sometimes it sits, sometimes it waits, and sometimes it walks away. Sometimes it is quiet as a feather, not because you don't have anything to say, but because you know if you speak too soon, you may curse what God is trying to do. Your silence will be louder than any sermon when you listen to the voice of God. You see, there's power in the silence. When you stop defending yourself, God starts defending you. When you no longer strive to be seen, God lifts you up for all to see. We've been conditioned to believe that if we don't speak, we'll be overlooked, and that silence makes us invisible. It does not make you invisible. It makes you invincible because it draws attention not to your voice, but to your value. There's no need for the lion to roar every time someone passes by him. Whether he roars or not, he is secure in who he is and strong enough to remain silent, confident enough to remain quiet, and everyone still knows he's a lion. This becomes your response when you no longer have a need to prove yourself, when you no longer need to be right because you know that being right in the eyes of man means nothing if you're wrong in the eyes of God. I've seen people destroy their own peace because they couldn't stand to be misunderstood, lose their jobs because they had to have the last word. When you choose silence, you choose strength. You choose to protect your peace, preserve your energy, and guard your future. There are things that silence can do the shouting never will. Silence can preserve your dignity. Silence can stop the cycle of hurt. Silence can disarm your enemy. There will be people who will mistake your silence for weakness. Let them believe what they will, because while they are talking, you will be growing. While they are barking, you will be building. You're not here to win all of the arguments, you're here to win souls, to bring light, not noise, and sometimes the brightest light is the one that burns quietly. You can walk away and not have to explain your exit. Your strength is your ability to know who you are, what you carry, and who sent you. You can walk away with grace. That is the power you have. And though there will be moments when your tongue feel like fire and your hands will tremble, but in those moments, remember who you are. Remember that God sees you and that heaven is not blind, that justice has a long memory, and the one who sits high and looks slow will bless your silence with peace, your restraint with promotion, your stillness with supernatural grace. You're not meant to fight this battle alone. You're not called to face every fool you breathe on. You're called to places where silence is not emptiness, it is elevation. And when the time comes to speak, when God whispers in your spirit that it is time, your voice will carry weight because the silence that came before it was holy. Your voice will ring like a trumpet because it came not from pride, not from ego, but from purpose. So until that moment, keep your mouth shut, not out of fear, not out of defeat, but out of strength. The kind of strength that heaven recognizes, the kind of strength that the enemy fears, the kind of strength that says, I am still and I know that he is God. Now go ahead and stand tall. Stay silent, because silence is not your surrender, it is your sanctuary. And in that sanctuary, God is working, and when he's working, you don't need to say a word. So just be quiet. Let the noise fall away like autumn leaves on a quiet road. Let the rattling of the world slip through your fingers, and listen not with your ears, but with the deep part of your soul that only God can touch. Be silent, not because you have to be, but because you choose to be, because you know that silence is your superpower.
If you've enjoyed this video, please comment, share with someone, and subscribe to our channel. We look forward to sharing more inspired content with you, so hit that like button and the notification bell so you never miss any of our future content. Thank you and be inspired.